Hi, and welcome to the Total Recall Show. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
And you can check out my new comics as I work on them at patreon.com. Just search Tom Scioli. And you can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli and follow me on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
You can follow me on Instagram at cinema_tomb.
So today we're taking on a classic, the original Blockbuster.
Yeah, the original. It's July. Great July 4th flick. A little bit after the classic Spielbuster Jaws.
Yeah, the one that kind of started it all. Really.
Yeah. On some days, I think like Jaws might be my favorite movie.
Yeah, it's like as like a kid or whatever, Jaws made me feel smart because it's like, oh yeah, there's like a shark, but really it's about like what the people are doing. You know, it's really about the mayor not shutting down the town. Like, yeah, I figured something out.
Even in like maternity ward in a hospital, I overheard the nurses telling the babies, they're like, the shark in Jaws was broken a lot.
Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of like where my head goes. Always, it's like just that cliche of like, yeah, the shark wasn't working, and so Spielberg, did his, he figured out a way to film it without having a shark in it, and then that's why it's great. It's because it's about you see everything but the shark. And
they named the shark after his lawyer Bruce. Amazing actors. You got Richard Dreyfuss, Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw. Mm-hmm. Roy Scheider, I love him from. He looks so tan, so fit.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like a guy who lives on an island, with a beach right outside his door.
Love him in like Sorcerer, Marathon Man.
He's got like the backstory too of like a lot of these movies where it's like he used to be in the big city and like. A different kind of life, a lot of action, and now he's in the small town, and there's really nothing for him to do,
He's afraid of the water, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, this is, like, kind of like the blueprint that people use for blockbusters, like all of those things of, like, how it's like, of course he's afraid of the water,
Finally, at the very end, he's like, the water keeps closing in on him until he's just on a little teensy tiny little like. Mm-hmm. When in elementary school, I would do like report. I'm like, Jaws, oh god, great white sharks, and like whenever he's flipping through these books in here, some of the pictures were in the books from like I would check out the library. Mm-hmm. Like that picture where like all the guys are standing in that like huge mouth. Like that's in like every library book.
From like a marketing standpoint and from like a concept standpoint. It's kind of like an exploitation movie. Like the cover, it's because it's like you got the shark and the beautiful girl, and like
you have like a magnifying glass. Like oh god. Like,
yeah, it's so like it's and then there's all these like like Piranha or whatever. There's all these like Jaws imitators that really were like full on exploitation. But it is kind of Hitchcock even, where you take like the sort of fare of like an exploitation movie, and then you just do this like super classy version of it, like this super smart version of it.
You don't show too much. I thought whenever Richard Dreyfuss does his autopsy scene, whenever he lifts her arm up, I thought that was like I was like, nothing in movies is ever going to get more gross. But you only see like a little bit. But I was like, oh my god, that's like. And as violent as it's ever gonna get. And it's like you see the basis of like, all those like forensic, CSI and Silence of the Lambs, like that whole thing of just like you got this autopsy. And it's like this isn't what we think it is. This gross autopsy. But one of my favorite scenes, like in the movie, he has like little headset on. He's like. He's like disgusted by it. Then he's like, "Did you notify the Coast Guard? This was no boating accident."
Do you know why the girl in Jaws had dandruff? She left her head and shoulders on the beach.
What?
that was like a joke when I was a kid, and I didn't understand it, but I knew the joke.
Right, like him typing shark attack slowly in there.
They have piles and piles of paper that just say shark attack, shark attack, shark attack over and over. And then it's like you got all this like small town Americana.
Oh yeah.
The sort of bucolic setting and all these little cranky funny characters and
I like how in that scene before she's like, the people from the karate school were chopping the
they
fence.
were karateing the fence.
She's like, Sheriff Brody, I want you to do something about that damned Count Dante. She's like, we need you to stop the dojo wars happening here on the island.
Yeah, like this movie, like just this like little town, it just like reminds me of like as a kid, like going to Cape May and stuff. Like it's just like one of those little, beachfront, like every little bit of like the little bait and tackle shop. And,
Oh yeah, they use a ton of local local citizens. They're like, nothing ever happens. He's like, you got the beach closed sign. He's like, we don't go in here. So he's like, he has to make them.
Yeah, he has to paint that. He gets that like tub of acrylic paint. That tub of tempera. This big bottle of tempera paint. Like this town, like I want to go. Shark attack aside, I want to go like visit this little town. And that's like the other thing of like. The setting for horror is this like very like innocuous kind of setting where you would otherwise be completely at ease and comfortable.
I was so scared of the of great white sharks. I would even like when I was little, even before I saw like the James Bond gag, I'd be swimming in like Aunt Carol's pool and like be like, okay, a thing's gonna open in the pool and the great white shark's gonna swim out into it. There's no way it could be here. But
well, because even like if somebody just like dropped a great white shark like in the pool, sure it would die, but it might thrash around long enough to like chomp me.
Love the anchors on the mayor's jacket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great look. That sort of.
There's the writer Carl Gottlieb playing Meadows.
This is such a great, just this great scene where they're on the ferry and it's like almost like a one shot.
I love it too.
It might even be a one shot. Like I'm waiting for a cut. Yeah, there's no cut, and you're just like Spielberg. By the time he did Jaws, he had so much experience from like the millions of movies he made as like a little kid with a camera. And then, his TV work. So he like shows up and he's just, he's ready to work.
Heck yeah. Like,
and you also still have, again, it's like that thing in the 70s. You had all these like cinematographers that had been there since like the golden age and had like, honed their chops still around, and then, you start getting into the 80s and then that generation starts dying off and you lose these like amazing technicians who can like deliver the kind of shots that Spielberg's asking for.
And also, like, I'm trying to think of what I was up to when I was like 26 years old or something.
Yeah, I haven't seen a cut yet. Yeah, oh, I know. Like, you can't play that game. Okay, now there's finally a cut, but that's a pretty long scene before a cut.
I love a good oneer.
Yeah, you can't compare, like, you drive yourself nuts comparing yourself to... Because, like, yeah, there's guys like Spielberg... who are like, huge successes like in their like 20s or their early 20s or whatever. And then there's like everybody else who it's like, they're in their 40s, their 50s, maybe even their 60s when they finally like figure things out.
The wonder kind.
Yeah. Yeah, your day will come, Matt. One of these days. You'll make your Jaws. Yeah, he's watching the beach and like, I mean, just... it's again like you talk about like how obvious it is to say like, oh yeah, the shark didn't work. It's like it's so obvious to say like, okay, this is Spielberg doing a Hitchcock movie. It's like Hitchcock, you got you had the birds or whatever, and it's now it's the shark, and it's like, and so you have a lot of these Hitchcock techniques, and then you have like the thing of like Chief Brody's watching the beach, and then like somebody will walk by, and then that's where you get your cut. Is as the person walks by. It like where it zooms in, like just it's a Hitchcock movie. Like Spielberg was like, I want to make a Hitchcock movie.
I think that coming up is the Bad Hat Harry.
Yeah, yeah, Harry, that's one bad hat.
The original line, they cut it. He was like, well, that's one bad hat, Harry, and two weird old guy boobs.
So I was like way into this movie, and so then I read the novel. I'm like, this novel is going to be a masterpiece, and it's like, but so like reading the novel, it's like the big thing that jumps out to you when you read it is like, this is all about, this is like a buddy movie, Roy Scheider's in the boat with Richard Dreyfuss as Hooper. Yeah, you got Robert Shaw, like just these three guys, like a total buddy movie, and then like you read the book, and it's like Richard Dreyfuss is fucking Roy Scheider's wife.
Forgot about it.
It's like, oh, there's a subplot they left out.
There was a subplot too where the mayor was in deep with a mob or something.
Yeah.
They're like, you're gonna sleep with the sharks or whatever.
It does. It reminds me a lot of The Godfather. How Francis Ford Coppola took a look at The Godfather and then just like crossing all this stuff off, like, eliminating all this stuff that like you eliminate it and then you end up with like a classic. It's kind of like that here, like. Those are like sort of interesting details, and like, and in a novel you can kind of like meander and in a way that you can't quite in a film, and so like, Spielberg just kind of like eliminates a bunch of that stuff and then ends up with this like kind of like mythic sort of movie,
Like it was pretty interesting too that like for Jaws they got Peter Benchley he did like multiple first drafts, so. I mean, you got the author of the book. They brought him along for the flick.
Yeah,
that was pretty interesting.
And doesn't he play like a newscaster or something?
Yeah, he has where he's a reporter. And then I've been rereading the Jaws log a little bit.
Okay, yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
It's from Carl Gottlieb is the co-writer of this. There's another writer, I can't remember who he was, but he has an uncredited take on the script. But Carl Gottlieb, there he is right there playing Meadows. I think of him as like a Rob Reiner like.
I was gonna say, he's got a Talk Reiner feel,
and he's good.
He's got the Rob Reiner mustache.
Rob Reiner mustache, and his voice even kind of sounds like him. But he was talking. So it's his like. Once again, he's making this movie and he's realizing what he's making as he's making it. So he's like taking notes and creates like his like diary.
Like he knows that he's in history. Like he's in like cinema history. Yeah, as it's that's pretty awesome. Those kind of moments are interesting when somebody's like aware of that.
What's going on?
Because a lot of this kind of stuff is like, how the hell should I know? It's like we were just making a movie. We didn't know what was going. We thought it was going to be shit. We just like you hear that about like Star Wars, where it's like everybody's goofing on it and stuff as they're filming it.
But so he knew he was making something good, and he plays the guy from the Amity Gazette, Meadows, I think is his character's name, and he was talking about how he like when he was doing working on the script, he was writing himself out. He was like, I have to write myself out of the movie for like the story.
Yeah, for the story's sake. Like, I'd love to be in it more, but yeah, it's better without me in it. Man, taking one for the team.
Yeah, he would.
And you got the mayor is played by like Mr. Robinson, Mrs. Robinson's husband from The Graduate. So you kind of imagine this being part of like an extended universe.
He's like, damn shark ruining the 4th of July, and he's like, and then he shows up and shows like Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah. That's probably like where they were thinking of like when Peter Benchley was writing the story. He was probably having some like Mrs. Robinson stuff going on and a shark. This movie can't lose. This book can't lose. That was another like with this book and this and then like we're talking about like Die Hard and stuff like. I've sort of like realized that like there was like a time when a guy would write a book and kind of know that, okay, this thing might get made into a movie. They kind of come up with like a concept where it's like, I can sell this as a movie too.
Dude, that's another thing they mentioned in the Jaws log, that the producers, they got in on this, like on the book before, like they got it in on the ground floor before it even blew up.
Mm-hmm.
And they,
yes, I mean, sometimes it's even...
Like, how do they do that?
Sometimes it's even... I think it might have been Die Hard, but it's like, sometimes they get in when, like, the book's not even completely written yet, when it's just kind of like a proposal and you know, because, like, that's what it was with Die Hard. It was like, this guy wrote this book that became this, like, Frank Sinatra movie, and then he was like working on the sequel, and they're like, okay, yeah, we're locking this thing down. This is gonna...
With Die Hard, it was funny too. They had to, like, Sinatra, for his contract, he had a right of first refusal, so they had to, like, run it by him.
Yeah, he could have been
John McClane. Remember in the Turtles episode when April O'Neil, she's a reporter, she should have pivoted into being a comic artist.
Yeah.
That shark on the chalkboard wasn't there before Quint came in. So Quint, like, that looks pretty good.
Yeah, he drew a pretty nice shark and scraped his fingernail. I hate scenes where, like, somebody scrapes their fingernail.
Oh, I had to plug my...
Yeah, there's like a Pink Panther movie where, like, he's, like, torturing somebody he puts on this, like, clawed glove and, like, scrapes the chalkboard. He couldn't have just, like, whistled and gone, you know, like... And he's got his little buddy with him. That's kind of cool.
I always forget that guy's there. He's wearing the dirtiest orange hat in cinema history. That's some bad hat, Harry.
Man, some beautiful, beautiful shots, like the cool, warm contrasts in Chief Brody's house. Man, wouldn't you love to live there? Like, you got the...
They're like, it's like transport to 2021. It's like, that's a $10 million, like...
Who's Mrs. Brody? Like, what else has she been in?
Lorraine Gary is her name. I'm not sure of her filmography. She is back for Jaws 2.
Yeah. Well, yeah, doesn't she becomes like Roy Scheider in like the sequels?
Jaws 2, underrated. I think it's like, we should watch that one for our Halloween Spectacular episodes. It's like the original slasher film.
Yeah.
Is Jaws 2. Unknowingly created, like,
the slasher
genre.
Well, I mean, you could say even, you know,
But in that one, they got, like, all the teens, like, out on the boats. Mm-hmm. They're like the nerd, the jock.
Right.
It's
like really solidifying the formula. I have a friend who said, like, when he was a kid, he, you know, like, Jaws, biggest movie, you know, so great, and then, like, him and his dad were going to the movies, and it was his choice. He could either see Jaws 2 or this, like, weird, unknown movie, Star Wars. And he went with the safe bet. He chose Jaws 2. And he said, my life was never the same afterwards. Like he just imagines, like, how differently his whole life would have gone if he had gone to see Star Wars instead.
Your friend is spot on, and you're spot on, because my mom has saved, like, somehow my mom was on news, like, what was going on at the time.
Yeah.
She saved the newspaper ad I have for Star Wars.
Yeah.
And in the same ad, there's a Jaws 2, and it's on the same paper, so they're like...
Yeah, I could see making that same mistake.
I'll show you this paper.
He viewed it as this, like, disastrous mistake that sent his whole life, like, off the rails. And I could see, like, it would be an easy mistake to make. It's like, yeah, like, I loved Jaws. I can't wait to see Jaws 2. And it's like, Star Wars? What is that? I don't even know what that is.
He was reading that newspaper. He's like, I always forget that scene with these two guys, like, fishing with the meat. Yeah,
that's a good one. And again, it's like, it's all what you don't see. And it's like this, like, super scary scene with just, like, a jetty. Like, you know, like a little, the jetty. This really is like a low budget movie. Like, it is, like, you know, it's just like he's flipping through it, like these like horrifying scenes where it's basically he's just flipping through an encyclopedia, you know. Right. Like, we could shoot. Let's try and make a movie, and you know, I think we could do Jaws. Like, we're just flipping through a magazine or something.
Tom, you're spot on too, because in the Jaws log, if the special effects had worked how they wanted it, they had the shoot for this movie was going to be like 50 days or something.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of, you know, stuff happened, like a lot of stuff going on. But because the shark broke, it ended up being like 150 days. So the length of the shoot was only because of malfunctioning. Like, they could have pulled this off like in a month, like you said.
Mm-hmm. You know, like, I forget who it was, but like, or which movie it was, but watching this like Steven Spielberg documentary, and I was saying, I think it was like, might have been with Indiana Jones, but it was like George Lucas was having a hard time getting like financing or whatever for Raiders of the Lost Ark because he wanted Steven Spielberg to direct it, and like all the studios were like, yeah, we don't want to work with Steven Spielberg because he always goes over budget and over schedule. Like we can't afford, we can't take that chance of work. You know, so it's kind of interesting to think, you know, that like, okay, Steven Spielberg, this like hit machine, you know, it's like after like 1941 and stuff, and it's like, you know, it's just like, yeah, like it's kind of a gamble because he whatever you say it's going to cost more. You know,
yeah, it's like this balloon.
It's going to take longer, and yeah, that happened with this, and it was purely because of like the mishaps with the shark.
Because you're right, it's like, you know, 3 dudes walking around, they could bang like these shots out like.
Yeah, and you think about like if they made this movie now, and it's like you'd be seeing that shark in exquisite detail underwater, like doing all kinds of like flips, and the cameras, you know, like, yeah, like
here's Jawsy.
It's like a bygone era. Like, I guess
in the special edition, they like removed John Williams' score.
You know,
we're cutting the dead weight.
Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss is wearing like the Dexys Midnight Runners.
I was gonna say, I'm feeling like I love Scheider's navy sweatshirt on the beach, and I'm loving his gray sweatshirt under the jean jacket vibe.
Yeah, like Richard Dreyfuss like says to Robert Shaw the thing. He's like, I'm sick of this working class hero shit. But meanwhile, he's like the one wearing like the John Lennon outfit. You know, he's the one doing the working class hero thing. They're gonna die. They're all gonna die. Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss, man, so great in this.
He's like, you got where can I find a good restaurant? He's like, walk forward or whatever into the water.
You know, maybe they had to cut the subplot of him fucking Chief Brody's wife because it's like nobody's buying it with Richard Dreyfuss. Like she's not going with that dork. Yeah, that dork, you know, Roy Scheider's like you know, lean and mean and tanned and coiffed, and then you got this little dork.
Yeah, it's like Roy Scheider in Marathon Man doing like the bed. He's wearing like skin tight, like nut hugging boxer shorts, doing like push ups on the bed. Richard Dreyfuss is like, "Oh guys, you're all gonna die." He's like, "I'm telling." They're like, De Niro and Scorsese. Like, we've got it. It's like George Lucas and so we're like, my kind of guy, Richard Dreyfuss. It makes me think of that when they did the Star Wars audition sketch on Saturday Night Live. Darryl Hammond's like, I was in Jaws.
You know, like Chief Brody is kind of like what like Steven Spielberg thinks he is when he's making this movie, and then Richard Dreyfuss is like more like he's like kind of the dork, the nerd, kind of like what he really is.
I think there's somebody like throwing like they had dynamite. Oh yeah,
yeah, he's throwing in the little.
It'd be funny if that killed Jaws.
Right, the movie's over.
He throws that cherry bomb in the
whole rest of the movie is Richard Dreyfuss fucking Chief Brody's wife.
That fucking hillbilly throws the cherry bomb in. Just Jaws come to the surface and turn upside down. It's like dead. We got it.
Movie's over.
Movie's over.
Yeah, so you got the autopsy scene. We're gonna do some half-assed autopsy of a fish. I love how they keep calling it a fish. I get, you know,
it's a bad fish. No bluegill or tommy cat.
Can I have a glass of water?
His deliveries are so great in this movie, especially.
Wonderful.
I love when he's like,
and like another one of those like cliches of talking about Jaws, but it's like the original ending. Hooper dies.
Yes.
And it's like, they're just like, okay, we got this movie, And like the audience doesn't want that. The audience wants the two of them swimming back to shore together, and buddy movie.
There was a cool. I do remember the thing I always remember from Jaws, the book, was like Hooper had this like thing. It's like a spear with a shotgun shell, and I was like, that'd be so sick. It's like you stab Jaws and it fires the shotgun shell. I'm like that. But it doesn't show up in the movie.
Like the Jaws series, like the sequels and stuff, very compromised and whatever. But like, imagine if this became like, Riggs and Murtaugh or whatever, where it's like these two across like multiple movies going on all these different adventures. It doesn't have to be a shark.
Yeah.
Like I just like this pairing. Oh yeah, they find a shark and it's like, man, just so great. Like the red herring. It's like, yep, we caught your shark. And it's like, yes, that is a really big shark. And that is very big for these waters, but that's not the shark. Like it's like plausible deniability. They have plausible deniability. Like they can reopen the beach. And like they kind of know better, but they kind of don't want to know, and kind of pretend they don't know.
He's like, think about the economy. He's so excited. Ben Gardner caught this.
And then it's like this sort of like false. It's like, yeah, we did it, and it's like, okay, well, it's too early in the movie.
Also, like these guys are like. They live on Amity Island, but nobody really knows a lot about like sea life. They're like, what? They're like,
what's what?
A what? It's like, it's a shark. You live on the Amity. It's a lobster. He's like, what is that?
Scene where the mother of the kid who dies comes up and smacks him in the face, and it's like,
you knew my son is dead. There he is. There's the writer. That's when he's like, oh what? It's a tiger.
Yeah, they got like one of the extras from Deliverance. Oh
what? I'm gonna make this shark squeal like a baby.
I didn't know Amity Island was in the middle of Appalachia.
There he is. They're like John Lennon. I mean Matt Hooper. He's like, oh my gosh, please sign my copy of Double Fast. Roy Scheider, man. Like, they're like, okay, this scene, you've got to be excited. I act excited. Looks great.
Yeah. You're with them. You're on the journey. And yeah, you can't just make a movie about a shark eating people. Like, you got to make the human drama, like, even more compelling.
I love the mayor's line. He's like, that Kittner boy's going to spill out onto the dock or whatever.
Yeah, and he's got that great boy. The Kittner boy is going to spill out on the dock. A half-assed autopsy of a fish.
We're going to have a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
4th of July. Now, you say barracuda. People are like, huh? What? You say shark. Man, we're
going to have a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
Yep, and then, man, just like everything's like, dispersal of, plot beats and stuff all like at the right moment.
You knew? He's like, yeah, I'm a pussy. Like, that's why I didn't shut the beach.
Well, because like it's like you can plausible deniability, and you can sort of pawn things off on other people, and it's like, yeah, I know better, but we'll take a wait and see attitude. Sort of like daily cowardice, I get, where it's like,
oh yeah,
it's like these
covering
little things, and yeah.
She's like, how could you let this happen? He's like, we didn't have any beach closed signs.
Yeah, the tempera paint, like
they were sold out of tempera paint at the art shop.
Yeah, he only got that one bottle. Like once they go on the boat, it's like, the movie's in like kind of stages, and it's like, okay, there's all the stuff on the island and the thrills and that we like sort of associate this movie. Like even before you've seen this movie, the stuff you think that's going to happen, people swimming and getting attacked by a shark, and then they get on the boat, and now it's like an adventure movie.
Yes.
It's like, we're going to do this thing.
Hooper shows up with the wine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then
he's like,
now do you think they filmed like that subplot and then just cut it out, or do you think it just like never made it past the script?
I think it never made it.
Yeah, it never made it to the script. Yeah, because it's just a different movie at that point. Like it's a little more 70s, I guess, with that wrinkle and like a little more complicated, but
there was a
it's not like the crowd pleaser though.
Yeah, and they got the mafia part too. It's like I gotta keep the beach open. These mafiosos
Mobsters are breathing down my neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just becomes less like universal, less relatable, less just like, keep it simple. Don't bog this thing down. Like are you making 10 movies or are you making one movie?
Roy Scheider's standing there and like a car speeds by and throws Marie Hamilton out. He has to like, my ass is in a sling, Martin. I'm in deep shit.
Matt Hooper sleeps with the fishes.
If I don't keep the beach open, I'm gonna be sleeping with the fishes.
He's like, I didn't know what you were serving or something like
I
that.
didn't know what you were serving.
The red or the white,
I
Martin.
didn't know if you were serving fish or veal.
A little surf and turf, Martin.
Yeah, this movie, like it's one of those movies, that glass of wine looks delicious.
Oh, I know.
He like fills
Fills
up
that
tall
cup,
glass,
and he
like,
gives
yum.
he gives like his wife like just a smidgen, and then Dreyfus he gives him a little pour.
Again, like Hitchcock, it's like when they're filling up that glass to give to Cary Grant in North by Northwest.
Oh, it looks great. I like how
Yeah.
he just eats his food.
This scene's making me hungry. Like
looks
I
good.
want some food. I want a glass of wine. I want a tall glass of wine.
Roy Scheider, like later in the scene here, talk about like knowing your props in a scene. Like, I fucked this up so bad. Like he has to like uncork this like on camera. I can't even like uncork a wine bottle. That's me.
Spielberg's so good at all this kind of stuff. Like Spielberg always has these great like breakfast scenes and stuff. Like just like people around a table. It's like so cozy.
Oh, I know.
Roy Scheider and Richard Dreyfuss as like a pair. Like it's such a good pairing. Like they kind of you can tell they like each other, and there's like, but they're like different. Like Roy Scheider's like, super cool and ice water in his veins, and then Hooper's kind of hyper and comedic.
There it is, the pour. What a heavy pour on that. Looks so good. Just a smidgen for you.
Like all these night scenes, or like it's just it's just fun. It's just like taking out like the sort of horror elements. It's just like all these cozy fun and. I don't know, the 70s decor and stuff just has like a warmth to it.
Yeah, and like classics, you can just like throw them on. They're long, and it's like it like slows, not like bad slow pace, but like there's not like
it's a different pace of life. Everybody there isn't checking their phone.
Yeah, just like chill out. Let it.
Yeah, it does remind me of like when I was a kid and like. My parents would have like dinner parties and stuff, and it would be like just like slow conversation and cigars and stuff. Like I don't know the last time I've had that kind of evening like you're seeing here, where people are just kind of chilled out.
It's like,
of course, chilled out talking about like a beach massacre that's been going on. But
this is making me want to like light up a stogie and
and
crack a bottle of vino.
Yeah, like what are we doing? What are we doing?
Catch you guys later.
We'll see you. You've been watching the Jaws episode. It invents the blockbuster. It's like, like movie coming out in the summer. Kind of fits. Got the feel of summer, and people are lined up around the block, and just they go see it multiple times, so they can see all those like. Fun parts, the thrills and chills.
It's a movie that like your parents and your friends will like everybody sees.
Everybody sees it, and like and then like 2 years later, Star Wars comes out, and then it's like it goes to a whole other different level. But this is the thing that starts it.
I do appreciate that there's like the classic Jaws, and then it's got like 4 weird sequels that I'm into it.
Yeah, it's time for like a Jaws to be sort of reclaimed, and like maybe like a new Jaws that's kind of like, get like Matt Reeves or somebody to like work on it and kind of like really figure it out and figure out a way to like
add to
it
the
up
series.
And make sort of almost like a thesis statement about the whole series. Yeah,
love it. Like hey, anything Jaws related, sign me up for it.
You know, you think about all the imitations of Jaws, and then it's like, you know, it's like lips, tongues, ears.
My one buddy Dan showed me a grizzly. Or there was like some
feet. That would be like the Bigfoot version of Jaws would be feet. When Quint is like singing the song to Hooper, and Richard Dreyfuss is just like he's just like smiling and shaking his head, and it's the camera's just on him as like Quint singing. Like, I love that moment. It's so great.
Here lies the body of Mary
McGee. Here's to swimming with bow-legged women. Well, farewell and adieu to your fair Spanish lady. Farewell and adieu to the ladies of Spain. And Hooper's just like...
I love doing that fair Spanish ladies riff when John Williams incorporates that into his score. It pops up later. I'm like, that's
so smart.
Dope.
He smashes the now, yeah, he smashes his can, and then Hooper smashes a styrofoam cup. But it's like smashing a can isn't that hard either. So like they're acting like he's a big wimp because he's smashing a styrofoam cup.
I'm like, what is that can made of? It better be made of titanium.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe like because we're used to like these aluminum cans that you could crush. Maybe back then like cans were you know, made out of tungsten or something. Like, I don't know. Like
what? Watch it, Martin. That's compressed air. It could like blow up if you stuff it in a shark's mouth and shoot it.
So yeah, you've been watching the Jaws episode of the Total Recall Show. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
And you can check out my new comics as I create them on Patreon. Just search Tom Scioli when you're on patreon.com.
You can follow me on Instagram at cinema_tune.
And you can follow me on Instagram at Tom_Scioli or on Twitter at Tom Scioli.
Here's that classic line from Jaws. Your boat's not big enough for the Jaws.
Yeah, your boat's not big enough for the two of us.
The two of us. I'll be Jaws.
Jaws will be back.
Jaws will be back.
Hasta la vista, Jaws.